as usual, I'm now using this other program to do my programming. Easier for me to show you. So you can see that I talk about the program itself. The is the max and mean of 4 numbers, basically calculating so on. I have my name, I have the date, and then I have the libraries that I need and the namespace, so that I don't have to see out with the std colon colon in front of it. I see some of you are still doing it, and I hope that from this assignment on, please don't do it again. I'm not I don't think it's very efficient way of doing programming when you know that you can actually make it simpler to read and so on, and less easy to make mistakes basically. And then I just copy the function declaration here. This is the only function that we need because, okay, I guess you wouldn't have that part first. Usually we write this part first, okay? So this is the how I'm going to write this program. So we would loop and ask the user yes or no if they want to continue, right? You know, it's a do while loop. I think you've done it many times. First thing we do is to prompt them for an input, and then we will receive the input, of course. I guess I didn't write that part. And then we will compare, so this basically is copied from the slides, you know, the algorithm number 2. And then we will output the result. And then we will write a driver to test the order sum. So it means the better way to go about this is probably write the function first. So we will copy it so that we can define it here. So now let's think about it. So what we want is just compare mean and max to see if which one is bigger. If max is bigger, actually we can just return. We don't have to swap anymore, right? According to the algorithm. So we would say if max is bigger than or equal to min, because you know, why waste time to do it if we don't have to swap, right? Then we'll return. So then we will get out of this function, because nothing we don't need to do anything. But if we get to here, it means a max is smaller, then we will swap. So how do we swap the two numbers? We will have a temporary number. We will save we will actually have the temporary number save the value of max, and then max will take the value of min, and then min will take the value of 10. So that's how we will do it. We will save it, and then we will write the driver to test if this function is correct. So what's the easiest way to test it? So I think, you know, we might be tempted to say order num and then put in some numbers and see if it works. However, remember we are passing in memory space. So if we do this, we can't really test it because there's no variable. We are so this cannot be changed, right? And you wouldn't be able to know. And so it really doesn't make sense to use a real integer to put in, so we have to have some variables. So let's say a equals to 20 and b equals to 12, and then we put a and b in there, and then we output the value of a and b. So this is called a driver program. Basically, we basically just test the functionality of one function to make sure if it's right or wrong. So I was thinking, let's get rid of the ampersand, so that you know how the ampersand works. All right. Because we didn't match it here. Okay. And also because the 20 is bigger, so let's say 120 here. So you see, nothing actually has changed if we don't let the, basically, you know, this doesn't really do anything, this part of the function, if we don't let the value of max go back to the integer. And so if we pass the value by reference, let's see what happens. So you see now that the value of A actually have changed to 120, and the value of B has changed from 120 to 20. So now we know the function works. I mean, in a way, I would also test the negative number just in case. And you know, should test, switch them, like so it should not change because 20 is bigger than -9, and that's the case, the output, and so we know the function is working. So now we can kind of block this out because we have tested the function is working. So now we are confident we can implement these things. So we want to loop the program to so that the user can say yes or no, whether they want to. Okay, I think I will leave out the driver over there. So I would do a while loop, and if they want to repeat or not, it will tell us. And I think I don't have to explain this again, because you probably have done it in the assignment. So then we need a variable called repeat. I actually sometimes see some of you so basically what I want to say is this is the most efficient way of implementing this, because do while loop will always do it once because you don't expect people to run a program and don't see anything, right? So they don't have to answer yes the first time, right? And so you want to do it once, and then you would ask them if they want to repeat. And so let's also implement that part, so that do you want to enter and other 4 numbers. And then we will read the result. So this loop looks clean to me. So now we will prompt the users to please enter 4 we can tell them integers also, separated by space. And then we will receive the input. So we actually will need the n1, oops, n2, n3, n4, and we will have those, we will declare those n2, n3, and 4. And now you see it's very convenient that we have written out, you know, how to do this, because, okay, now I just need to compare n1 to n2, so I will just call the function that I know is working. Right, and I plug in the n1 and n2, and now this step is done. And that's the power of writing comments, because you think about it clearly, you write your comments clearly, then now it's a matter of, like, right now you can in a way be kind of reviewing if you are right, you know, logically, but at the same time it is so much easier to, you know, see that how logically it's working. And so now we can output the result. So we will expect that n1 is the biggest number, or the max number, and then I'll just copy this line, and n4 is expected to be the minimum number, right? So you know, doesn't hurt to check again. So it's n1, n2, n3, n4, n1, n3, and n2, n4. So let's try to compile the program again. So let's try 4, 29, 10, 22. So you can see that 29 and 4 is correct, but always try to test more many times, right? And now I will throw in some negative numbers, like one, well, like this. All right, so 10 is the maximum number, so that's obviously a bug. So let's see how to debug it. So why is 10? Let's think about the algorithm. So we compare this to 67 is bigger, compare this to -1 is bigger. 67 compared to -1 is correct, and then 10 is compared to -5. I think -1 is bigger. 10 is compared to -5, so -5 is bigger. So why 67 will be the let's see. I have to debug this also. Order number n1, n3, n2, n4. One way to do it. Let's try to do some debugging here. So what I want to do is we will print out all the outputs. I mean, print out all the n1 so that we can debug it that way. So we can see each step what it does. I forgot to change this first. you can see that I always make sure the lines are lined up, because for me it's very important. Otherwise later on I got confused. Interesting. It actually I see. Okay, how do a Control C? So what's the number that we input? It's actually quite important. I think I will remember. I think it's 60, 61, 10, negative 5 and negative 1. So that may be giving me a hint of why. Do you want to enter another phone number? I said no, and it still repeat. So I forgot to compare. Interesting. All right. Okay, Control C. Again, I think it's 10, 61, negative 5, negative 1. First of all, this works, but we need to figure out the numbers that give us the wrong. 67, 10, 67, 10, negative 5, negative 1. Interesting. So it doesn't happen anymore. I wonder if really this affected it. Interesting. Let's see. We need to recompile it. I don't quite understand. Anyways, so it's not happening again. If we comment it out, will it happen again? What if we have entered other numbers before? It was the bug was really because of we didn't have the equal to compare the repeat character, and that's why, because it actually expected there would be a because it will it basically ate up one number, so 67 actually disappear into this entry, and actually I think it might have become a 7. So let's try to print out. Sorry, I'm just curious, and I think it will help you to learn debugging, right? So let's see. So what happened is the first time it was fine. Okay. So to be able to let you see what happened. So let's compile it first, and then we'll run it, and then the first set of data is okay, But then in the second of data, because I forgot, or I think I didn't say yes or no, so I only entered the number. So it ate 6 as the entry to repeat, and so that's the number actually became 7 and 10 and -5 and -1. That's why we see those errors. Anyways, so to make this right, this has to be equal. And I think the rest was actually good. So I'm just commenting out the debug messages basically. Now you see how to use cout to debug, and we would, I guess, run it again using different sets of number. It looks right, and you see, because now it's functioning correctly. When I forgot to say yes or no, it will just get out of the program. So I think I've made enough mistake for this demonstration. Alright, so let's go back to the slides. So what if we cannot call by reference, right? So I realize if we cannot call by reference, I have to write out all the comparison and swapping of the numbers, which is not so tedious for this one. But and of course, you know, there will be tools later on that we will talk about, like arrays and so on, to make this easier. But I would tell you that why do you not want to have call by reference, right? As a programmer, this is so much easier to have this tool than not. So learn to use call by reference as well as call by value functions. Basically, it's almost all the way through all in your career as a programmer. That's what you would be doing, is to know how to write functions and so on. I want to mention that for functions, it's okay to mix and match. For example, you don't have to have a parameter. You can have one parameter. You can have one that is passed by value, one is passed by reference. You can have however many parameters you want. Even Boolean works. And also, I think you probably know already, but just want to remind you that any return type works so far that we've talked about: the int, characters, booleans, and floats and doubles, for example. So today or this video, we've talked about call by value, parameters, call by reference, and a driver program to help you test if a function is functioning correctly. That's it for now.